According to the Missing Billions report, the global supply chain wastes about $163 billion worth of goods every single year. The textile industry generates over 90 million tons worth of waste. And many consumers don't actually recognize the impact that their garments have on the environment. What's even more startling is that most garments, about 85% of garments, end up as waste, and only 1% are actually recycled. When actually most of the garments that we wear are perfectly recyclable. We just don't have the infrastructure, and many times consumers aren't even aware how or where to recycle their garments.
Food waste is a massive opportunity. A third of the food produced for human consumption is wasted. That's a significant amount of waste that no other industry tolerates. That is an opportunity where the technology exists, the information exists, but it doesn't live in a way that can be automated and accurately actioned to reduce both the challenge of food in landfills and serve those needs with hunger.
Avery Dennison's history goes back to 1935. Back then, our founder, called Stan Avery, had an idea of improving the merchandising and pricing methodology within stores. And with that idea, he was able to build a device that created what we know today as the first self-adhesive label. The company has had many achievements over the past close to 90 years. And as you can imagine, it goes all the way from what we call our base materials and the evolution of that into a multitude of different substrates. And also over the years, we became the world's largest, what we call intelligent label supplier worldwide, which is a means of integrating electronics and technology into the label so that the label can actually flow information remotely through radio frequency.
One of the challenges that many brands and the broader apparel supply chain faces is around inventory accuracy and understanding where garments are and where they are in the supply chain. About a decade ago, we introduced RFID technology into our labels, and it really revolutionized the supply chain, and in particular, the textile and the apparel industry. Implementing RFID technology typically increases inventory accuracy from about 65% up to 99+%. And what that means for brands and retailers is they know where their stock is at any one point in time, and then they can ensure that they're getting that product to consumers when they want it and where they want it.
In the food industry in particular, there's a whole portion of food waste that is happening before it hits a grocery store or a restaurant. And that food waste can be solved today. There's technology that exists by taking information that lives on analog labels and siloed channels and connecting it wirelessly so that you can read it quickly and accurately action production to consumption in a way that reduces the waste. Some of the leaders in the fast casual space are really taking this back local, supporting local farming communities, but ultimately they need to be able to share the stories of those farmers and the information of those products in a way that we as consumers make informed choices, in a way that more of those products end up sold or eaten.
Most supply chains, you do things by estimations, but because you don't have item level visibility from an end-to-end perspective, you tend to have elements of overproduction, so you make more than you effectively need because you don't know exactly where you have it and how much do you have. And also there's another element in areas such as food and to some extent beauty and healthcare linked to perishability. So we believe that by making sure that you have these unique identities in every physical item, you can actually transform those supply chains. And that's really why we insist on this physical and digital going hand in hand. Having an identity on an item is good, but if in today's world I don't have it on the cloud and I can't provide it and make it accessible to everybody, it's also of limited value.
Avery Dennison collaborated with Mara Hoffman and Cirque to create a dress that the New York Times dubbed the dress that changes everything. That dress is made of recycled content. Avery Dennison's role in that was actually creating the unique digital ID that communicates the story of the dress, Mara Hoffman's mission and purpose in addressing sustainability, but also communicates what they can do with that dress at the end of its life with the intention of either returning it or recycling it back.
The information exists today, and the solution portion is really just making sure that you can capture it accurately and action it quickly. The Freshmark solution takes that one step further. If you think about waste in the food industry and how a large portion of that is happening in supply chain, there are moments when you want to validate that information, specifically as a consumer. Right now, all of the information that exists is living on a package, and making sure that you have a way to see that digitally. In the case of food safety, you're able to go from actioning a recall over weeks, bringing it into minutes. And Freshmarks also really thinks about what are the tasks that are laborious, that aren't value added. Things like inventory, things like making sure that you're ordering the right thing. There's a lot of places where waste is happening, and it doesn't take much to really connect the information digitally and be able to action it automatically, and that's what the solution is doing.
The European Union is in the process of finalizing their rule on what's called digital product passports. Every item that is produced will have a digital identity that should follow it through its life cycle. And Avery Dennison is actively working to understand how the industry is going to respond and what technologies it can deploy to help address that regulatory change.
Every item being able to be tracked, monitored, providing full level of transparency, knowing its carbon footprint, where it's been or how was it brought here, when it was manufactured, did it respect the communities where it was done, making sure that when I as a consumer buy a product, I'm making a conscious decision. At Avery Dennison, we believe that solving some of the world's most complex problems are actually some of the world's best business opportunities.